somebody too?
My mother-in-law's going to keep them Monday and Tuesday, and then we're off Wednesday, Thursday. So
That's right. Next
Girl,
time
I
we'll
got
get
21 cheerleaders, and you never see you, let me know. I'll get you a baby.
Amber.
no, and like the whole everybody. I
Okay.
was just like thinking
Was
okay.
you waiting on me forever?
No, it wasn't as long this
I
time.
never had to.
Oh.
Just don't my mom's always at home, or
that's
my dad or Trent, and then tell my mom we'll come back home.
Well, she would have had to work.
She'll be here tonight. Yeah, she would have worked anyway.
At least half a day, huh? Today it's Wednesday.
Yeah, she's
They're on
working today.
We got one more.
One more module and then
And
lunch.
then after, and so lunch will come back and we'll do soccer
Yeah.
and all that stuff at that time.
Yeah. All right, so in module 1, session 1, we talked about had that conversation about what it's like to be or what it means to be a literate person in the 21st century. We named that a critical component of literacy is that we are able to research and rely on digital sources. So let's take a few moments to connect that to our own lives and think critically about the skills that are needed to effectively research. So on page 15 of your note catcher, you have a write, pair, share. If you will just write down your thoughts, your answers to these 3 questions, and then we're going to pair up and share at your tables. So this is on the do now section of page 15.
Exactly, you do.
Yeah. If I don't know what something is, I don't care. I don't know. I Google it.
Well, even
I teach my kids that.
Sawyer does. Because I mean, he's nice with his job. Like, what's it up? Well, Google it, Mama.
They do it on their own.
They do, yeah. He's like, can I get my Chrome? Can I look at this? Can I do that? Yeah, okay. Just a couple more minutes.
I guess I saw pictures in him or something.
You just book.
No, he's
I was just picking.
He's book.
Yeah.
Look
Look
out.
I don't know. I don't think about that.
All right, so take a moment to review today or this session's objectives. We're going to spend our time digging into the extension task for our shared unit, Flowers for Algernon, and unpack the skills and knowledge demanded by this task. We're also going to analyze the backwards design of guidebooks in order to see how lesson sequences intentionally build knowledge to prepare students for the extension task. Briefly review the agenda. So after this, we will go to lunch and then come back and do some planning. You know, lunch, that's the most important time of the day. I mean, everything revolves around lunch, right? How many hours do we have to lunch? Well, yeah.
Is super important.
So recall the 3 types of assessments in each unit. Yesterday we talked, about the cold read task. So when you prepare to teach a unit, we should do a careful analysis of each of these 3 assessments to develop a deeper understanding of what students are going to have to do by the end of the unit. So for our purposes today, we're going to focus and zoom in on the extension task. This is, we're also going to research, I hear a bird, Amber. We're also going to research, did you hear it? We're also going to research or see what students need to do in order to be successful during researching this task. All right, so I'm about to pass out this extension task. It's just the example of the task. Here. Hold on just a second. Yeah, she's supposed to sign something.
You don't get one. No, pick up for you.
That's fine.
No, just, I mean, we only got one.
You want me to go check your?
Yeah, just get her to sign that, please.
You know what? She's about to do me
All right, so back to this. Sorry. So if you'll take a few moments to review the directions.
more of these.
Yeah. And review the task, the task directions. Sorry. So review this task. Think about what students are required to do and what text do they need to work here. So we're just looking at the first page of this, just the task directions. All right, so what does this what does this task ask students to do? So what do they have to do first before they write the essay? Know what they're writing about, and how do they find out, or how do they get that knowledge?
The discussions about moments in Flowers Algernon, know about intelligences, using evidence from the character and the novel.
Okay.
Research the history of the
So they're going to have to research, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all of these texts or all of these links underneath here are just possible sources. They don't have to use all of those. What text will they have to use, though? Flowers for Algernon, right? So they're going to need to draw information from the anchor text, but then they're also going to have to pull in some other sources in order to answer this. All right, so if you will turn the page and look at the student exemplar. So this is actually what we've been told is it's an actual student example. It's an exemplar. So this student scored very high on this, So just read through it and then highlight evidence of the student's comprehension and analysis of the anchor text and knowledge of the topic as you're reading through it. You're going to have about 7 minutes to read through it and highlight. So if you need to go back to, the directions for the task, go back and see and just make sure that they're answering all of the questions and this is a student. They just, it might not be,
Yes. This is, like you said, this is just an example. So, it wouldn't be wrong with it. You just put it. I was just. I'm sorry.
I know I'm the same way.
I just, things like that,
I don't want to
Yeah,
spend
it's a
time.
text.
I don't spend a lot, I just,
If it's a text, you do this. If it's an article,
So
you
do they
this.
put the quotation around it too?
No, if you use outside, you don't. Yeah.
No, it's one or the other.
It's one or the other. Yeah,
Oh, okay, so it's okay for them to do.
it's okay for them to
Okay,
do
that's
that
why I
way,
usually
but-
tell them to put, protection mark.
I was just asking.
So
Because a lot of them, I just teach them to underline.
But my thing, I mean, they're gonna have to do MLA citations from now if they go to college, so they get out.
Right.
We don't, and they do APA now a lot in the college classes, so
I had to do APA.
I had to do both. Now, my niece that I helped this year did a lot of APA, but I mean, they're both similar.
She was having a meltdown one night because she didn't. was
When
one
I
way
gave you
she
like
had-
the website or
Yeah,
whatever.
the
Yeah.
one
Easy
way was
Bib,
not what she
Easy
was.
citation machine,
Yeah.
or citation machine.
Yeah, that's what they were.
That, and then I also would go back and look at the, there was another
Oxford
website. Yeah, the
Dictionary.
Oxford.
EOC used to have questions on MLA format citations. You had to choose which one was the correct, based on the handout you were given, which one was the correct MLA citation for
They
that.
used to do that in fourth grade leave.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a number one big question.
So we're going highlighting for evidence of their comprehension and analysis of the anchor text, which is Flowers for Algernon, and then knowledge of the topic.
There's an introduction and explanation. See, like my thing is like this, you're giving me this of what the definition of an intelligence quotient is. Some scientists will, what scientists would. Like, there's no introduction of the evidence, no explanations, you know what I mean? The process that we go over. Where you introduce the evidence that you're gonna use, then you cite it, then you explain its relevance.
I'm just looking. I think that is, like, he's going into it and a little bit later and saying like certain specific scientists.
See, he does it later on. in
So,
Flowers
I mean, that's like
Algernon.
kind of his summary sentence at the beginning is some scientists believe this,
introducing it.
and then he goes into more depth. Or she, or whoever it is.
Bob, we're gonna call him Bob.
Okay, Bob. So don't look so much at like
There's so much evidence.
the writing right now. Look at the comprehension. Yeah, don't look at that, the English part, the writing
But even
part.
though like this kid has multiple pieces of evidence and it's more evidence than it is anything of him. I mean, they're looking for, I mean, that's what they're saying is
This is a research though. Think about it that way. When you're reaching,
true.
It's
you're
gonna
gonna
be
get
more
more
evidence.
evidence. It's all factual. It's not, or, you know, I'm just saying, there's something to back it up.
Yeah.
But I remember when I wrote my research paper,
Oh,
for my paper in lieu, it was kept on, keep your feelings out, keep your feelings
Yes.
out. Because I was passionate about my topic.
Mine too.
I had to keep going back to
Where's
the research? Mhm.
There's lots of.
I never want to do one of those ever again. That's just all I'm gonna say.
I was so proud of it when I was done.
How's this?
We're so hard on it.
2 whole summers. And then did you have to put in here?
And in Northwestern.
No. Now you have to put in your paper in lieu.
Oh, yeah, okay, he did.
And it was like-
It was like
I'm
something.
just trying to remember.
Something.
I didn't want you to go stalking
Oh,
the page.
no,
and
no,
everything.
no, I'd be that anyway.
You talk about it all the
I do.
time, I just never seen it.
You believe you crazy.
I am. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
It was something that was meaningful to me.
Yeah.
And I was writing something, you know.
But you're not
connected. If you're not connected, you know, or how much better it was.
Yes, you're informed.
Because as a result. I've got an office and wants to read it.
Do what?
So I've got an office and wants to read it.
necessary.
mine in my office.
Well,
Because I did it at work, you know, I did my,
Oh, money.
my, events at work
I
on,
found it at home. I don't wanna hear anything. Would you look at this? You know, this is I do know where it's at.
I dropped a class on Thursday because there's a drag full page paper, but I'm not. That's not
well,
even a lot.
page, yeah.
It's not even a lot, yeah.
32.
Mine was 30, mine was like 30.
32. In a class,
And I had
paper
no
in
idea.
lieu was like, it was like 80 something, you know. We focused on those two different courses, and I took them in the summer for a reason.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, yeah. Awesome.
All right. So, what were some of the, what was some of the evidence for comprehension and analysis of the anchor text, Flowers for Algernon? You can kind of summarize what they put in there, what Bob put in here.
Talked about the doctors and flaws.
Okay. Talks about the doctor's opinions. What else?
Real life researchers.
All right. What about, did it have anything about the characters' perspectives?
Yeah, losing everything gained,
Mhm.
emotionally scarred.
Yep.
And then he leads into about how scientists have debated.
So he connected it to
Yeah.
that research,
Right.
right? So he's not only, so that shows us some of the knowledge of the topic. He's taking that from the story and then connecting it to what research says. All right. So typically when you unpack a task, we're going to, like we did yesterday, we looked at the knowledge and the skills that are needed. But for today's purpose, we're only going to focus on the knowledge demands of this task because the skills are going to come later when we talk about writing. Because writing skills are different than reading. So basically, we're going to talk about the knowledge that is needed. So what I want you to do is work with a partner to unpack the knowledge students will need to successfully complete this task. So go back to the first page. So what will they need coming into this task? Will they need to know?
Knowledge of like his history.
Okay. So that kind of stuff. There is also a spot on page 16 of your note catcher to take notes. That's at the top of 16. Get it 6 weeks up for 200. Sorry. But I got it. I just gotta, I get text now.
Some background knowledge about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Tuesday, I didn't even deal with Subway.
Go get your Subway. Lindsay Robbins. Oh, okay. That's hard. Two Lindsay, and they're on the same line.
Oh, geez. LRLD.
But they're still different.
Yeah, they're definitely spelled differently.
I always called it Melvin L.
Your binder getting here ready, April.
Yeah, I'm just gonna write sideways now.
All right, so what are some of the knowledge demands that the students might need before going in and finishing or completing this extension task?
So they have to first know what an informative essay is
Okay.
and how to conduct research.
What else?
background knowledge on intelligence and how it's measured, different types of intelligence.
So how many do they, at least, how many do they need to know?
2.
At least 2, right?
Mhm.
And how they're measured. What else? All right. So where are they going to get this information from?
On the text.
From the text and from the research, right? All right. So the takeaway here is that students need to come to this task already having had some background knowledge about this topic in order to be successful. Even with the scaffolding that's built into the task and the sources that are provided, that alone won't be enough. So here's why. We have a very clear vision of excellence now, but the big question is how? How do we prepare students to be successful on a task like this? This student was able to synthesize ideas from multiple sources in order to express their ideas. However, it's important to point out that this doesn't happen automatically or in one sitting. Even though the task itself is scaffolded and provides students with multiple sources for their research, it's not enough to set students up for success. So think about your own experience with that Pacific Cod research earlier. So if we would have started reading the research with no background knowledge like we did, we were lost, right? We had no clue what was there. But if we would have taken all of the information before and done some more background knowledge, then we would have been more successful on the task. Let's see. Who wants to read this? Let me see who's not paying attention. No, I'm just joking. I'm
Your
totally-
material is more like.
You want to read it, Amber? Read it.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. New material is more likely to be remembered if it is related to what is already in memory. Remembering information on a brand new topic is difficult because there is no existing network in your memory that the new information can be tied to.
So knowledge helps acquire new knowledge and vocab faster and easier by acting like mental Velcro, kind of like a dartboard that you might say. So the dartboard analogy, if you have an existing schema, which is the board, and then you want to add something to it, you can easily add more information to that. So the new information would be the dart. So it all sticks, It all sticks. If you have something in your brain, your brain's going to remember it a lot easier if you have something there to stick it to connect it to. So this task, of course, isn't the first time students are reading about intelligence. And in order for them to be able to assess and fully comprehend the research presented here in the extension task, it's important to have that schema. That they can attach their learning to. If these articles were the first time they were reading about or thinking about the different theories of intelligence, they would not be very successful, and it would be overly challenging. So now let's take a closer look at how these lessons have built up, or this lessons in this unit have built up to help them understand the new research that they're reading when they're doing the extension task. So as you remember from our unpacking of the cold read task on modules 1, the lessons in the guidebooks have been intentionally designed to help students be successful on that end of unit assessment. So this time we're going to take a much closer look at the knowledge building that's happening throughout the unit. So there are computers on your desk. If you will, and you can share, or if there's enough, we can do one each. We're going to open up Learn Zillion and look at the Flowers for Algernon unit. And once you get there, go ahead and go to, I think it's section 2, lessons 5 through 8 is what we're going to zoom in on.
She is on stage.
She knows me.
You already logged in? Did you?
I think Miranda was the last one.
Wasn't yesterday.
These are the same ones we use though. Yeah. Because they were already still in the boxes, and so I just picked them up and left.
101.
Where are we at now?
Okay, so go to Learn Zillion, and then go to the 8th grade, and then Flowers for Algernon unit, section 2, 5 through 8 are the lessons.
Section 2.
1011.
Three and 5 to 9. Flowers.
Okay, for
Like, what is it now? Oh, that's from the, let's see that.
May I have a-
these are the lessons we're going to focus in on. Okay, yeah, you are. It's not. It's section 3. I just figured it was. It was 2. It's okay. Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
So we're looking at section 3, not section 2. I was just figuring 1 through 4 would all be one section, but it's not.
It was weird. Yesterday, I remember seeing that. 1 through 3, and then it's like 4, and then.
Because I think that's
very-
when they start reading.
Yeah.
Isn't that when they start reading Flowers for Algernon
I
and
think
4?
so.
Because they've read
Yeah,
Prometheus
because they
and
did
1
the
through 3.
Prometheus. Mhm.
And so Flowers for Algernon's a totally different story, so they put it in a different section.
I'm gonna need you to get that under control. Like, are you not in the phone?
No, she's not.
What is she doing?
Rolling over.
She like fell out of that hammock.
She's just about, hey, I thought you had sinus surgery, Amber.
Hey, I am not snotting at all. You know what's cool? Breathing is cool, man. It's a whole new world over here for me.
You don't sound like a fucking little snort pig.
No, I don't.
There she goes.
I was-
Yeah. Now I can't even fake it.
Yeah, I can't even fake it. It was weird.
I was like a little pug.
It was like George.
I hope not.
I really did sound like a little dog. But I can, like, air hits the back of my throat, and it's the coolest thing in the world to me. It's never happened. The doctor told me that my attempts at breathing were like breathing through one coffee straw for both my nostrils. That's how bad my nose was.
You were working twice as hard to breathe.
Now, there's a big giant tube. I don't know. It's cool. Air's awesome.
It tastes better.
All right, so
It takes me not as long to eat now because I'm not trying to like do a million things with my mouth. I'm literally just eating.
we're going to start by zooming in on lessons 5 through 8 to see how these lessons build toward the extension task. So just review on this the sequence of lessons with the partner, and then refer back to the skills and knowledge that we unpacked in the extension task. How do these lessons build knowledge that will be helpful to students on the research extension task? And what evidence do you see of this knowledge in the student exemplar? There is a graphic organizer on page 16 in your note catcher where you can record your information on this.
And making connections with story.
So you're not really having to open up anything. You can look at the descriptions that are already here. Like this one right here says enterprise academic vocabulary. It gives the description on the page. Right here, they're making the claim, you know, that kind of thing.
Right there. Pretty.
We can look up evidence in the fingertip.
No evidence in the student exemplar. So the student writing.
So, what evidence do you see?
So like, what do you see? Like, let's say the first one they did academic vocabulary. What evidence do you see about the academic vocabulary? Well, I mean, they're using it. You know, you might say like they use it.
And it's like I do it, it's just like the evidence for the claim. to make choices.
So that would be what evidence you see. They're adding evidence to this, right? They made a claim, and then they're making evidence that is relevant to the claim.
Like, yeah, because they're using what is an Inkblot and Flowers for Algernon
Yeah,
for the, whether or not Charlie's suitability for the experiment.
Yeah.
What was his suitability?
they did all this too.
Yes, ma'am.
So you've already done all this?
Well, mentor training did a lot of it, so I'm saying, like, a lot of what she's gonna have to go back and do mentor training, so she's already done.
So I said, I wish they would have just made it as a few days longer and then like content and mentor, you know, together.
I'm gonna tell you what does excite me is Jesse and yours.
No, she's already done it.
She's already done it, but Jesse.
He's in ours.
So he's going to get to go through.
Yeah,
all of
this.
this, yeah.
They just didn't spend as long, like we're doing,
Yeah.
spending it was very, here you go, da, 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 you know.
Because there was other
yeah,
things that had
yeah,
to be touched on.
Yeah, so we didn't spend,
An hour doing it.
right,
I guess that's just ours was just more in depth because we did exactly like an hour for every one of these modules.
I'll say,
It was an
I got all this
hour
stuff in my
longer.
classroom.
They were supposed to be an hour, but some of them, like the road not taken, took us about an hour and 20 minutes
Yeah.
because we had somebody that was sitting there and just arguing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I was just sitting there and laughing. Like,
I was just glad I was, here.
why? She snorted.
Sorry.
So once you've done lessons 5 through 8, open up lesson 11 and then do the same thing. How does this lesson build knowledge on what will be helpful for students on this research extension task? And what evidence do you see of this knowledge in the student exemplar? So actually open up that lesson and kind of dig through all the lesson slides and the teaching notes and look and see how it would be helpful for this extension task. So the space for that is on page 17 of your note catcher.
I heard him say metamorphosis is good and bad. I like it when it turns into the cockroach. Fahrenheit 459, that holds you.
On 11, they actually talk about these things.
Conversation stems. I know, right?
I like the circles under that. So I sent it to Katie last night. Barbie. I wonder what Hannah looks like.
They reversed on her.
I said, I wonder what we would be, we like kept adding. But yours is what happened. She thinks we reversed on you.
And I have to like look decent and because it read like she is always.
Me too, child. I have 3 boys.
She is 5.
Bless your heart. He put in parkas and dirty socks and multiple little turtles running around is what we call
I
them.
had a girl sit on my couch the other day and she was like, what else? I was like, I don't know if they're clean.
That's
And here comes Mason, and he was like, those are clean.
Yeah. I picked up my son Sunday and he was telling me how he had to go to the bathroom.
I can't imagine the
He
laundry.
had the steakhouse. Actually,
Oh.
you would be surprised. And how he had to go faster. And he did very loudly. He said it was so funny because I made this old man crack up and was trying to pee in the urinal because I pooted like a grown man. I don't mean to that story. About laundry with multiple kids or with boys? Because boys most of the time are like, hey, can I wear this outfit again? They wore it 3 days. And
No, mine, Jace just keeps changing clothes 4 times.
Not Eli.
The girls
Not the
do.
babies. They would wear girls.
So
Some
Girls
people
change.
will put on his same clothes
Already
after he
been
goes
done.
swimming. He puts on new clothes. I'm like,
No. I guess it just depends on the
No,
kid.
Jace just found.
all right.
Dirty underwear.
Now, zoom in and on lesson 34. Page 17 in your note catcher. Just continue working and recording your ideas. And also look at the possible discussion responses in this lesson that are provided in the additional materials tab.
So, for time wise, if you decide to skip a lesson, it might be the wrong lesson to be skipping, so you don't need to skip a lesson.
Right.
Well, that's a good point.
Because like lesson 11 was very important to that task.
That's why planning, looking at it.
That's why when you go through and kind of do this backwards planning like that, and you see what you need out of these tasks first, and then you go through and you do your weekly planning is so important. Because if you don't look at that task until it's time for them to do it, or time for you to plan for it, well then.
Well, I mean, and I go back to, something we did earlier when, even with our experiential, where we had the topic. While I knew I didn't know anything about it, at least I didn't feel overwhelmed because I knew what the expectation was. And so seeing that at the very beginning that I was gonna have to write to the fishermen and the consumers and the EPA, at least let me know in my head, okay, I know what information I need to have in order to do that. I just am waiting on you to give me what it is.
It almost
I
makes
think
you
if
want
you with
to
your new card.
get, and I was hoping, I was thinking about that, about the students, when I wrote down what I needed. I was wondering if I do that, thing,
Right.
will there be those that they're like, I want to know what I need to know
Right,
now?
yes.
Yeah, you're definitely gonna
And so
have.
it helps me see the end.
Yeah.
Which just reinforce the idea of starting with that end task.
Well, and also like
Building.
if you post that in task, you know, it like if you have it on your wall somewhere, which we talked about with junior high doing that, and they did it last year too for their culminating. But if you have all of those things up and saying you're going to have to do this and this, at the end,
Help.
give students like this is what I'm shooting for. This is what I'm going
Send
to.
them out.
And
Yeah.
the whole Flowers for Algernon unit, we had the like end task question, like how does Charlie's quality of life improve before or after the surgery or whatever on the board, and like constantly that was referred to at least once a day, like once an hour in class or whatever, and they knew what the point of them learning all this was, and they started forming their opinions earlier on and learning how to get evidence to back that up, and it really did help. Because I didn't do that with the Telltale Heart unit. It made a giant difference in this one.
Yeah. Did y'all hear that? She didn't do it with the Telltale Heart unit, and so they had a harder time writing at the end, but then she did it with the Flowers for Algernon unit. They already had formed their opinions by the end, and they didn't have to think about what their opinion was. They were able to dig into the
Well, I
writing.
mean, every day is connected.
Yeah.
Like for months, we referred to that. And then when it came time to do it, they weren't like freaked out about writing a 5-paragraph essay or
They
whatever.
already knew. They were expected to do that at the end.
Yeah, they knew. And it made a big difference. Like,
That's one I can like.
that's also what I'm studying in that course right now, is how to like backwards plan and let the kids know that there are goals in sight.
Yeah.
It's a big difference.
Well, I mean, you think about when you were in college or what, like I always wanted to know what's going to be expected of me. Like, give me what I'm supposed to have. You got your syllabus at the beginning of the year. Beginning of the semester, you know, what am I going to have to do? And how am I going to get there?
And then go back to even when I wrote the goal for this circle grant, was that we would, you know, there's that on teacher learning and on students learning. How are we going to get there? This, what we're doing today, is one of the steps in getting us there.
Yeah.
And even, Corey, you tell, let's go back to the goals. Let's
Yeah.
go back to the goals.
Yeah. Every time we have a call with Corey from ANET, she's like, well, let's go back to the goals and let's see, how does this meet this?
And
And
keep it foremost, and we don't stray. We are, okay, is this gonna help us accomplish our goal? Is this gonna help us accomplish our goal?
then it's not, a waste of time if it doesn't, you know. Well, not a waste. I mean, it might be beneficial, but
Courtney, are we still doing, what time are we doing lunch?
Now,
minutes. In just a few minutes,
Troy just wanted to know.
probably in about 10 minutes. All right. So let's just do a little discussion before we do our capture our learning. How do the text and task in this unit build student schema? This isn't in there. This is just, let's talk. How do these texts that they read and the task that they had to do?
Because you're introducing them early, and then when you get to this final assessment, just going back and basically throwing that dart and adding onto previous background knowledge. So it's not introducing something completely new for a final assessment.
We're seeing some of the same thing over layers. Of
Yeah. Anyone else?
So they're getting the full picture.
They're getting like a full picture of it instead of just a little narrow. All right. So how do these lessons build knowledge that will be helpful to students on this research extension task? So the knowledge.
Starts with the topic and it just progresses.
Yeah. So like on lessons 5 through 7, they read that what's in an ink lot. Some say not much. And so it helped them understand more about, intelligence tests and,
And had to read it again.
yeah.
Oh,
They had to
yeah, we
continue,
spent-
right?
I mean, on Steve Jobs' Vincent Steve.
Yeah, y'all read it like 50,000
No,
times.
they could have cited that. Word.
So, and how do these lessons support students in acquiring new knowledge from the research provided in the extension task? What are they reading? A series of what? Texts, right? They're reading that series of texts related to intelligence. All of them go back to that intelligence. They were all related to that.
And it's nonfiction, so it's.
Yeah.
coming in.
From different viewpoints.
All right, so before we wrap up, it's just important that we summarize and capture our learning. So on page 18 in your note catcher, if you'll just answer these 2 questions and record your answers in the space provided. And then we'll go to lunch and y'all will be back at, it's 11:12. If y'all want to be back at 12:20. And Amber and Lauren, if y'all just email me your stuff and then y'all are finished for the day. Have fun.
Bye.
Yeah.